Japa is a word Nigerians use about when they are talking about leaving the country in order to find a better life, to seek opportunities, and asking the questions about when everybody leaves, who will be left behind.
That is right. So with me here are two sides. On my left, you see the pro-Japa team. Now these guys are saying, you know what, leave Nigeria yesterday, not today. Yesterday.
Nigeria has failed systems, security, economic, educational, and in a country where all systems have failed, hope is not a financial strategy.
I'm pro-Japa because financial stability is impossible in an unstable economy, and underutilized talent leads to wasted potential.
Over 40 million Nigerians live with some sort of disability. I am pro-Japa because Nigeria is not readily inclusive or accessible for persons living with disabilities.
And on my right side, we see the anti-Japa group. These guys are saying, don't go anywhere, stay in Nigeria.
I am anti-Japa because the solution has never been running away. It has been remaining and fostering our nation, making it better and developed.
You also spend a lot of your income in prohibitive financial costs such as remittances, and you lose a lot of money for visas and all of those things. So you have to consider all of that before Japa.
Japa is not the smartest decision because it's not available to everyone, but actually a privileged few.
Is Japa the smartest survival strategy for young Nigerians today? I'm going to start with you, Ore. What do you think?
Young Nigerians, in fact, every Nigerian, but for context, young Nigerians deserve more than the bare minimum from the government. And currently, the government is even giving us below the barest minimum. And you may ask, what exactly is the barest minimum? Firstly, access to electricity, affordable healthcare, justice, security, to mention a few. The average Nigerian is saving money for ransom.
Does the opposing team have anything to say?
The average Nigerian thinks that it needs to move out of the country to make it. But when they leave the country, they are immediately met with a reality check. What is this reality check? First, when they get abroad, they are underpaid because they are considered cheap labor. 21% of unemployed graduates who go abroad are unemployed. Also, they also lose their social capital because they are going to a new country where they do not know anybody. And in fact, they also complain of security. Nigeria is an unsecure country, according to them. But facts prove otherwise. In the United States, across about 3 years, there have been about 48,000 gun deaths. But in Nigeria, which is a country they place on high ranks in global terrorism index, the number of deaths is in between a few hundreds to a few thousands. So there's a very big contrast between people that are pro-Japa and anti-Japa.
Okay, so Daniel says the position is that you should stay in your country. Or you consider you're itching to speak to me, right?
Yeah, definitely. So let me start by pointing out that if the only thing our pride lands have to offer us is scars, we cannot keep singing Hakuna Matata. Let me bring to your notice the fact that a lot of Nigerians are unemployed. There's a 5.2% rate of unemployment. And yes, you say, oh, they are underpaid abroad. But think about the fact that, first of all, a 5-year student, a person who should study law in 5 years, studies law for 7 years. Or a person who should study medicine for 7 years, studies medicine in 10 years. By the time they graduate, the 3 years they have lost equals $209,538, which their counterpart in the US would have earned. And yet you say they are underpaid abroad. Better to be underpaid than to be here, not have a job, and of course be owed salary even if you have a job.
Favor, I think Lekon wants to say something.
There is no guarantee that because Tokwe studied in Nigeria and he goes abroad, he will get a job over there. In fact, there is a manuscript by Samuel Kayinde which proves that many educated Nigerians who go to abroad end up in unskilled labor, like being cleaners. I'm talking about an engineer going abroad in hopes of a greener pasture, only to end up cleaning your toilet. Is that not ironic?
Okay. Let's listen to Mayowa.
A stable future is impossible in an unstable economy. According to the World Bank, in 2021, inflation stood at 16.95. In 2023, 33.24, and currently stands around 15%. You cannot plan your future, you cannot save, you cannot invest.
Let's hear from Esther.
So the opposition keeps saying insecurity, they keep saying unemployment. However, all these things are pointers to a nation that is failing. You cannot fix a leaking pipe by walking away from the house. He talked about, you cannot invest, there is naira depreciation. However, we have foreign industry that come to Nigeria and invest in Nigeria as a global market. Nigeria is where the market is. Nigeria is its people. Unemployment. Nigerian businesses can also provide employment for its people. We have companies like PiggyVest, Flutter with Michelle Elegba, who is the CEO of Intas, which stayed in Nigeria and built employment for millions of people. This is where we are to stay and build.
Mayowa has a comeback for that.
Currency you cannot save, you cannot invest, and you cannot do anything basically. With what you've mentioned, with the names you've mentioned, how many of them do you know personally? How many people within your range can you mention and say are employed to an extent?
So you speak about investment, you speak about savings, right? So there's a presumption that when you get abroad and you are earning in pounds, you automatically become rich. You automatically become wealthy. Well, how rich are you when you're also paying for your food, your shelter, your electricity in pounds? Pound is only material because you are spending it in Nigeria. When you are spending it abroad, pound is pound. Pound is no better than naira. So what will you, when you are earning 500 pounds a month, your shelter is 400 pounds. You will eat, you will buy things. How much are you saving? Where are you saving, and what are those savings? That is the question I have for you.
There is a lie in your right hand. The minimum wage in Nigeria is 70,000 naira. A local flight from Lagos to Abuja is about 130,000 naira base fee, minimum. Now, it means you earn 401 naira if you're earning minimum wage of 70,000 naira. To afford a flight from Lagos to Abuja, you have to work for 2 months. Let's talk about pounds. The flight ticket from London to Portugal is 25 pounds. The minimum wage is 2,000 pounds, which means per hour, an average person in the US or the UK is earning about 12 pounds, which means you have to work for 2 hours to be able to afford an international flight. That a person who is working for 2 months in Nigeria cannot afford a local flight. You cannot keep waiting for foreign companies to fix your economy for you by saying they are coming to invest. What is the government doing?
Daniel?
Now, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's consider figures once again. In Nigeria, the peak tax rate is 25%. But we are moving on to the countries like the UK or the US. You can pay taxes of up to 35%. Now, when you take away 35% from your income, Nigerians abroad, they give an average of about 15% of remittances back to those at home. That is about 50% of your income is already gone. And also in Lagos, the dynamics of the modern world allows you to actually earn in foreign currencies, access global clients. So it is not imperative, it doesn't make any economic sense for you to be able to earn in the country and take your money abroad.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's quickly hear from Aurel.
Currently, according to statistics, 2 million children suffer malnourishment, and 2 out of 10 are reached with treatment, meaning 8 out of the 10 children are not treated because they are malnourished. And what exactly is causing malnourishment? Lack of protein. Children are not eating protein anymore. They are eating egg and fish. They don't have money to buy meat. They don't have money to buy chicken. They don't have money to buy turkey. And you say that moving abroad is not the smartest decision. At least they can afford protein for children. Many Nigerian children die because they are malnourished, and many adults, not to talk of even children, many adults die every day because of malnourishment. And even when we come to speak about rent, yes, minimum wage is 70,000 naira, but how many companies truly pay minimum wage? The average cleaner in Nigeria is not paid 70,000 naira, quote me anywhere. They are paid below 70,000 naira.
Time is up.
Okay.
Chill.
Everyone breathe. Breathe, guys. That was a very heated round. So what we are hearing is that some people believe that Japa is survival. You need to live to survive. And we're also hearing that staying is responsibility. You need to stay in the country because it's not all roses everywhere.
Now it's time to hear from the audience. So audience, this is your time. So you heard boos and yays. Should everybody leave Nigeria? If you agree, let me hear you say yay! Should everybody stay in Nigeria? Wow, the audience were on fire. But now I'm taking the conversation forward. I'm going to start with Daniel. Is it a selfish move to Japa? Because actually, who left and came back?
Japa is a personal decision. You cannot just conclude that it is selfish. But I'm going to give you reasons why it is selfish to Japa. And that's a country where 1 in 600 mothers, there's one doctor for about 2,500 patients. And also, there's a very high mortality rate in Nigeria. When you look at all these factors, and Section 25 of the Nigerian Constitution seeks citizens to contribute meaningfully to their country. Now, when citizens do not contribute meaningfully to their country, that's selfish. It's also important for you to consider that public education in Nigeria is heavily subsidized. That is, they're taking this subsidized education to foreign countries. So Japa in itself is a selfish financial decision. As a medical doctor, as any professional you are.
Okay, SK, we have Aurelua here who has something to say.
So the opposition says something about citizen responsibility. And I take my mind back to 2020 when citizens had a responsibility of peaceful protest, right? And they went out and they peacefully protested against SARS, they wanted to end police brutality, and we all know what they were met with. So many people died, and today, nobody has been held accountable. So if you tell me that my brother went and peacefully protested, and he got killed in cold blood at 8 p.m. in the night, and nobody was accounted for it, you think my family will stay here? Hell no. Secondly, you speak about sub-education. The average Nigeria public school does not provide quality education, and that is majorly because the government does not pay their teachers well enough to even provide solid education. Also, when we speak about education, there are different facets of education. We have so many children that have been diagnosed that are autistic, that are non-diagnosed, they are autistic, they have different disabilities, and the average Nigerian school is still struggling to identify children with autism. How do you say that this is a country to remain in?
You claim that the Nigerian education is substandard. Now tell me, why are there so many scholarship opportunities for Nigerian students? It's because there's a recognition of the standard of education we bring from Nigeria, and that is a shame coming from you, actually, knowing that you're a student of the prestigious Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. And we're going to let that slide. Back to the question of, is Japa selfish? Now, it might be individually logical to Japa, but collectively, it is destructive. It is more than just you. It is more than just your obligations to owe to yourself. You must understand that you owe obligations to a state. Now, let me give you statistical data. According to the University of Benin, an article given by them made us to understand that 88% of Nigerian trained doctors go abroad. And now, he explained about the statistical data that was also given by the United Doctor Resident Association that provided that 1 doctor to 9,000 patients. Is that not preposterous? And now, you are thinking of yourself, you want to make money. First of all, I'm very sure when you become a doctor, you swear an oath. And that oath is to preserve lives and to help people. Now, let me explain. Are you helping people by escaping to the detriment of the lives you aforehand, and in the first instance, sought to protect and to heal?
Okay.
right.
Oyi Consola.
I believe the opposition is well delusioned. Let me start by tackling the point he made on the fact that citizens have a right to better their country. Citizens also have a right to liberty. They also have a right to dignity. They also have a right to be defended, to live. And I think what you should focus on defending instead of your stance is the people that actually need their lives defended. Secondly, you mentioned the fact that education in Nigeria is highly subsidized. Do you remember the fact that you pay with your mental health? By spending 9 years for a 7 years course or 7 years for a 5 years course, where your mates have moved along or your mates abroad are doing better. Also, you go ahead to talk about the fact that, the country is all this or country is all that, they took an oath. Can I remind you that in 2024, a House of Reps member, Philip Agbese, raised a motion that the Japa syndrome was becoming rampant and that a national referendum should be called so that stakeholders can engage with the government, can dialogue with the government. Can you guess what the answer of the House was? No, it was stepped down. That's a government that does not take responsibility. Finally, let me mention the fact that you said 1 to 9,000 doctors. I think that your statistics lie you. 1 doctor to 9,000 citizens. Yes, your statistics are not on your side. Because think from the point of view of the doctor, only the living can help another person live.
There needs to be a reorientation of your mindset. Going abroad does not equate to escape. You are escaping suffering to interact with another form of it. In fact, you are doubling what you are suffering with because now you have other contemporaneous and extraneous considerations come into play, such as racism. Now, okay, a doctor escapes abroad. I'm going to give a personal example. My uncle who used to live abroad, who used to live in the USA, he died actually. He had cancer. And why? Because one of the primary reasons was because the doctors who were supposed to cater for him, because he was a black man, because of the black, they didn't even acknowledge him until my uncle died. So now, that is an instance of going abroad does not equate to immediate success. Because in addition to that, you are also dealing with the high economic cost. I will reiterate, you are earning in pounds but also paying in pounds.
I tell you that any Nigerian that is not rich is a second-class citizen in Nigeria, even being a Nigerian. Nigeria is very big on economy, and the average Nigerian is an elitist. If I'm in a country where I don't earn so much, I cannot attain certain structures because the government is very corrupt, very, very corrupt, and the average Nigerian is also selfish in their way, also corrupt to their own fellow citizens. So please, cost of living is not even a big, because if I go abroad, right, with the right plan and with the right structure, and I go abroad and I get a job, at least I'm getting reward from my service. I cannot stay in civil service, public service, and work, and be owed salary when I have 3 children to cater for, a family and a husband. Please now.
Once again, to move to the UK, you need about £819 for a basic visa. And it goes to the north of this, even for an IR visa. You're going to pay a flat rate of about £1,035 for immigration health charges. When you look at all of these things, that shows that for you to Japa, you're not a poor person. 2, you're also a thief if you move away with a certificate to another country. Why? You have already wasted our Commonwealth. The money that we have already spent on you, subsidizing your education. You paid about $250,000 to study law or to study medicine in a developing nation. And you're moving to a country where the students, they pay about $100,000 to go to school, and they are overwhelmed with student loans. And now you have stolen this Commonwealth and you have moved to the third world. You are giving a developed country foreign aid. You are a thief.
I think that we should talk about the real thieves, the government, not the people who go abroad to better their lives. Now, he mentioned the personal example about his uncle who passed, and I truly, truly extend my condolences. But let me also give the personal example of my dad who died due to negligence in a Nigerian hospital. And guess what? Nobody was held accountable. There was no iota of justice. That is the country we live in. Additionally, you said you're earning in pounds, you're paying in pounds. At least what you're earning is proportionate to the work you're putting in. Let's talk about Nigeria, where you can be owed 8 months' salary, and nobody is thinking to apologize. Instead, you go on a strike and you get sanctioned for going on strikes because you did that in a military hospital. Again, these are the realities we live in. Finally, let me bring the statistics on board. Nigeria's GDP was growing at the rate of 6.79% between 1999 and the 16 years after it. In 2016, we had an economic deflation, an economic recession. We were growing at 2.72%. As at 2025, we were still growing at 4.01%. We've not even recovered from economic recession. And you're saying I should stay here in a country that has no hope. Hope is not a financial strategy.
Nigeria is not the government. Nigeria is its people. We have over 220 million citizens in Nigeria. When you leave Nigeria, you are not abandoning Lagos. You are not abandoning Tinubu. You are not abandoning Jos. You are abandoning the average Nigeria that has gone through suffering and is staying to still suffer the same thing you are running away from. Even by the definition of the word Japa, it says to run away, to flee. That simply means, where are you fleeing to? Are you saying that running away is the smartest decision? Of course it is not.
Okay, only consider one line because time is almost up.
He who runs from a fight lives to fight another.
Okay, this round
Our time is up.
is so intense. A lot of people had a lot of things to say, interesting points actually. But now we have to go back to the audience and hear how they feel. So audience, is it selfish to Japa? If you believe, wait, calm down. If you agree it's selfish to Japa, let me hear you say yay! Woo! Okay, if you agree it's not selfish to Japa, let me hear you say boo! Oh my, we're in the middle, right? Goodness. Okay.
That looks like a tie. That right there looks like a tie. Well, I see that we have a lot of disagreement right now. So many amazing points have been made. We can agree that Nigeria needs to get better.
That's right.
And we can also agree that Japa is in fact a personal choice. If you choose to live, you choose to live. It's your choice. And so that leads us to the next question. So how do we then strike a balance between Japa and improving Nigeria?
Everybody has a responsibility, social responsibility to improve Nigeria. We are not all on the same level. And when I say the same level, not all of us have access to the government. Not all of us have, proximity to the government that can actually do something. But in your private circle, you can uplift another Nigerian. If you have money to pay the fees of another Nigerian that cannot afford to go to school, you should. And in striking the balance, help out people that need help in your private capacity. And if you need to leave, please do leave. Because at the end of the day, it is your life.
I'm not going to say that Japa is the smartest option. I'm not agreeing with that. But it is an option. And it is an option we can utilize as a nation. Now imagine a young graduate of medicine goes abroad to study, to obtain masters, a PhD. And then he uses that brain power that knowledge and, intelligence he has acquired to come back to Nigeria, to develop the nation. In fact, we will be by a large margin not be where we are today.
So right now, we are all agreeing that we would help our fellow Nigerians when need be, right? So I would like to say that when we eventually get to political positions, because not everybody will get there, but when we eventually get to political positions, we must remember that you exist to serve the people. So when you eventually get to that political position, remember that you exist to serve the people. And in addition, I just want to know that you cannot out-earn a failing government. The government has to work. So even when you're, trying to help your fellow Nigerians, you cannot out-earn a failing government. So the crux is still corruption and the government's part in doing what they ought to do.
So I would like to add that if we want to see a better Nigeria, we need to hold each other and the government accountable. Take the popular influencer, Daskin Ella, also known as Ella the influencer, Onyechi Wabweze, as an example. She's the lady behind the popular BRT challenge. She held the government accountable on BRT transportation, and her voice was heard. And right now, the situation is better. So if there are so many Ellas amongst us, Nigeria will be a better place.
Oyikonsola?
I still maintain that the smartest decision as of now is to Japa. And you mentioned that there was the BRT situation that improved. I want you to know that it's back to status quo.
All right.
So like I've already said earlier, for those of you that will still move out of the country, regardless of whatever has been said today, it's also important for you to note that when you go out of the country, please do not come back with your disillusioned mindset and try to come and rule the country, because there's a substantial number of Nigerian politicians who go abroad, maybe see a different country and try to come and impose that back on their own citizens. They impose high taxes, all of those things, put the same burdens that foreign citizens, without delivering the same quality services that the foreign citizens enjoy. So please, as a Nigerian, stay in your country, be aware of the challenges, and work towards challenging it. Hold those in power to account, and try to be in power yourself.
Lekon?
I will reiterate what my colleague said. Nigeria is not our government. Nigeria is our people. The constituents of Nigeria are the people. Like, there are plethora of examples of nations who have also suffered under the same issue of bad governance, but they did not solve the issue by running away. They took a stand. And yes, you might have examples in the past where we took a stand, like the NSAS, and we saw how it ended. Yes, but then that does not still displace the importance of taking a stand. A collectivity does not entail a singular push that will achieve the goal. It is repetition. Repetition births success. We do it over and over and over again until they realize you do not have a choice but just to attend to the needs of these people. So you do not solve that problem by running away and then posting on Twitter that we need to help Nigeria while you are seated, legs crossed in your $400 house in America. Please, let's be realistic. If you want to effect change, the change must happen here. So how do you effect change from over there if you are not here? You will never understand what it means to be Iyasholakwe who sells pepper in the market if you are living in America.
Time's up.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Well, we are getting to the point where we now need to find a compromise. We've heard from the anti-Japa group, we've heard from the pro-Japa group. At this point, we're going to take 5 minutes. Both teams are coming together and discussing a compromise, which we will then share with the audience, and then we know if they are convinced or not. So do we have a compromise?
Yes, we do.
All agreed we have a compromise. All right, who is our spokesperson? Okay, Onyikonsola, let's hear you. What's the compromise? Tell us.
So we have agreed that a lot of Nigerians love Nigeria, but it all starts with our mindset. So if we have proper orientation of our young persons, we have better leaders, we have less people who want to go, and even when they go, they still love the country. So they're still giving to their siblings, their parents, they're still giving back to the country. They're taking the things they've learned, they're taking the things they've earned, the things they've been equipped with, and bringing them back to better Nigeria. So Japa, if you can, and if you can't, stay here and make Nigeria better. But if you have to Japa, make sure that you're coming back to better Nigeria. Or if you're not coming back, you're sending things back to ensure that a lot of your brothers and sisters in Nigeria are better.
That sounds like a compromise. But now we have to hear from the audience if they're actually convinced or not convinced, right? So you heard her, she spoke about Japa and Japada. I learned that go, but come back. So if you're convinced with what she just said, after 3, you're gonna raise up your convinced card, and if you're not, you keep it down. Are you good? 1, 2, 3. Are you convinced or not? Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, the results are in. Are you ready to hear the results? All right, the audience, drum rolls please. The audience are convinced.
Amazing.
Wow. The conversation started in a very hard way. We had strong arguments, solid points, but finally we have an agreement. The audience were convinced. And on that note, I would like to thank you, my amazing panelists. You guys did a fantastic job. Yes. And to my amazing audience, make some noise! Nice! But, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation doesn't stop here. You can follow us on our social media pages and let us know what you think.
And we will see you next time. I remain Favor Buying.
And I am SK Talkie. See ya!